Really enjoyed the film, Ashley. I thought it was so good.
Thank you.
You've starred in some brilliant thrillers in your career. What do you think it is that makes a great thriller? What is it about a script, in particular Lazarus, that makes you go, okay, this is one for me?
Yeah, I know my way around a thriller, hey. Um, so when I read the script for Lazarus, I stay pretty busy in the other areas of my life, and I thought it was really interesting and quirky. And I passed, and my creative team was like, Ashley, we think you need to give this a deeper look, because there were so many original elements that the screenplay writer and director Alec Tibaldi had brought in, like the egalitarian way that my nieces and I live, the isolation, which to me is a real, our community is so strong, and yet there's this contradiction that we're not connected to the outside world. Our sense of belonging comes from our place in nature. And I think that thrillers really capitalize on those tensions and contrasts and draw these stark divisions and then ruptures them.
It's a great answer. But Lee is incredibly sort of protective at points, to a flaw. But can you totally kind of relate to her and understand her motives and her actions? And is that quite important for you when you get involved in a project?
I had a very clear take on Aunt Lee, the character I play in Lazarus, because one way to interpret it is that we're living in a gender utopia. There's no hierarchy, there's no sex difference, there's no socialization of gender, there's no patriarchy, there are no systems that have been created by men for women to fit into. It's totally egalitarian. And so they are safe from male sexual harm in any form. So yeah, I'm protective.
And just talking about being protective, do you get protective over characters you play? And then have you, like, traditionally across the course of your career, do you feel quite protective over them?
I have a very contemporary story about that. So Sarah Pidgeon, one of my brilliant co-stars in Lazarus, is currently starring on Broadway in a sensational play called Stereophonic. It's set in 1976 and 1977. And so gender norms were different then, and some relationships today still are emotionally abusive. And a male character in the play really manipulates her emotionally, and she's a talented singer, and he humiliates her in front of the band. I felt so protective of her sitting in that audience. I was like, and it made the whole audience was gasping and vocalizing and offended, but I felt so protective of my niece. We were talking about it at the stage door last night. She said, I knew you would be so protective.
I mean, yeah, because you're working with some great young performers here in Sarah and Katie and Asher. Do you feel a sense of responsibility now in working with those at quite the early stages of their career to kind of
100%. I mean, I grow these hen wings, and I'm like, you can tuck under if you want to, you always have a choice, but they're here if you're interested in some shelter. I'm 56, they're kids, they're youngsters. And Sarah and Katie and I were alone for the first, portion of the shoot. And we just sat on the floor and talked. It's like, do you have your per diem? Are you talking directly with the producers? Are we warm enough? And of course, especially women, we don't want to risk being disliked or labeled as difficult. And I'm like, get that per diem today.
Well, it's great that you're able to kind of impart that kind of wisdom that comes with experience. But I wondered, when you were that kind of their age and starting out, did you have any kind of great guides when you got into the industry? Any other actors or filmmakers
No,
who were under their wing?
no,
So
no. And that is why I am so intentional about cultivating relationships with younger artists. And also when I speak, really emphasizing the concept of mentoring and sponsorship. There was this one time that a producer asked me out for a meal, and I had no idea that he was fixing to sexually harass me. But if I'd had an Annette Bening, if I'd had a Michelle Pfeiffer, I might have gotten some guidance that, wait, he said Sunday, not a weekday. He said a bar, not a regular restaurant on the let's do lunch Hollywood circuit. He's married. I didn't know that those were red flags, because I didn't have that older woman in my life to mentor me.
Well, it's great that the next generation have people like you anyway to be able to help them through navigate their way through the industry. But thank you so much, Ashley, for speaking to me today. It's been a real pleasure, and best of luck with Cheers.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey, you guys!
Hey, you guys!